Fog clung to the ground like a living thing, slithering through the gravestones of Rosewood Cemetery as the funeral procession moved in slow, grief-heavy silence. The hearse rolled forward with a steady, mournful hum, its headlights slicing through the gray morning. Behind it walked a line of mourners dressed entirely in black, their steps weighted by sorrow. Among them was Detective Adrian Cross, his jaw clenched so tightly it ached. His younger brother, Matthew, lay inside the hearse, a casualty of a gang retaliation Adrian believed he should have prevented. Every step felt like dragging chains behind him. The pastor's voice drifted in the air behind them, reciting a prayer that Adrian barely heard. His mind replayed every moment from the week before, the tip he ignored, the call he missed, the promise he broke. Guilt carved deep trenches in him, each breath colder than the last. Today was supposed to be quiet. Sacred. Untouched by the chaos he spent his life chasing. But quiet didn't last long in Rosewood. A sharp, jarring blast of a horn tore through the still morning. The procession halted like a single body. Adrian's head snapped up. A white SUV barreled toward them from the cemetery entrance, weaving between cars as though navigating a supermarket parking lot instead of a funeral line. The mourners stepped back in shock. Behind the wheel was Karen Whitfield, acting HOA president and the self-appointed guardian of Rosewood's standards. Her hair was pinned into an immaculate blonde bob, but her expression was anything but polished. With the fury of someone deeply offended by an untrimmed lawn, she leaned out her window. "You can't block the main road like this," she shrieked. "This neighborhood has rules. If you wanted to do this parade, you needed a proper permit." The mourners stared, some speechless, others on the verge of protest. Even the pastor looked stunned, his prayer dissolving mid-sentence. Karen wasn't done. She waved a clipboard as if it were a badge. "Move aside. This is a community space, and I have a schedule to keep." Adrian felt something inside him snap. His grief twisted into a cold, precise anger. He stepped toward her as she shoved open her door and stormed out, heels clacking on the pavement. She marched straight toward the pallbearers, who were, horrifically, mid-transfer of the casket. "You need to move this thing. Now." Adrian grabbed her arm as she reached for the casket handle. She jerked back, startled. "This is a funeral," he said, voice low and dangerous. "And this is a residential area," she spat. "Rules apply to everyone." Behind him, her SUV continued creeping forward, physically cutting between the hearse and the family car, splitting the procession in half. Her engine revved impatiently. Her arrogance blinded her to the seriousness of what she'd done, or the law she'd just broken. Funeral procession interference. A criminal offense. Adrian watched her with a slow, steady calm that felt more lethal than rage. "You have no idea what you just stepped into." The cemetery fell silent again, but now the quiet was sharp, electric. The funeral was no longer just a moment of mourning. It had become a crime scene. Fog thickened around the CID building as the hours crept by, but inside the interrogation room, the air was sharper, colder, and far more suffocating. Karen Whitfield sat in the metal chair, her wrists bound in cuffs that clinked every time she moved. Her perfectly ironed blouse was now wrinkled, her hair falling from the once pristine bob. Mascara streaked down her cheeks in uneven, jagged lines, wore paint from a battle she hadn't expected to lose. The room's single flickering light buzzed above her, threatening at any moment to fall into darkness. She flinched with each flicker, like someone already expecting punishment. Outside the one-way mirror stood two officers, whispering, but Karen's eyes remained fixed on the door. She sat upright, spine stiff with a strange mixture of entitlement and fear. Then the door opened. Detective Adrian Cross entered with the quiet intensity of someone holding back a storm. He shut the door softly behind him, but the click echoed like a gunshot. Karen swallowed hard. He set a thick case file onto the metal table before circling her slowly, a predator analyzing his prey, or perhaps studying a puzzle he desperately needed to solve. "You know why you're here," Adrian said, taking a seat across from her. I was just trying to manage community standards," she stammered. "There are rules. People can't just block roads whenever they want." "You hijacked a funeral procession," he cut in, voice even, almost eerily calm. "My brother's funeral procession." Karen blinked rapidly, guilt and indignation colliding in her eyes. "I didn't know, I didn't think. You nearly drove over the casket." His fingers drummed the table once. A controlled gesture masking the tremor of rage beneath. "Do you understand the severity of that?" Her breath hitched. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." "That's the problem," he replied. "You don't think beyond your clipboard and HOA rules. You don't see people. You see inconveniences." Karen's facade cracked. For the first time, real fear bled into her expression. Her voice softened, trembling. When things get chaotic, I panic. I have to control something. Anything. It's the only way I can keep myself together." Adrian's eyes flickered. A shadow of recognition passed through him, breaking the hard edges of his expression. He knew that feeling. He lived in it. The compulsion to grip the world so tightly it couldn't slip through your fingers, because losing control meant losing everything. He leaned back, studying her. "What are you running from, Karen?" Her lips parted but no words came out. Tears pooled, unfallen. "You think I'm a monster," she whispered. "But I'm not. Not really." His pulse tightened. This wasn't supposed to be personal. But sitting across from her, watching her tremble under the weight of her own demons, something shifted. In her brokenness, he saw a distorted reflection of himself. Silence stretched between them, thick, electric, dangerous. Two damaged souls sitting in a room built to expose the truth. Finding pieces of themselves in the other's ruin, rain hammered against the rooftop of the CID building, each drop hitting the concrete like a warning. Midnight dragged a cold wind across the city, bending antennae and rattling loose grates. Detective Adrian Cross stood near the edge, shoulders soaked, head bowed as if trying to let the rain wash guilt out of him. It didn't. Nothing did. He replayed the interrogation over and over. Karen's shaking hands, her eyes drowning in secrets, the crack in her voice when she spoke his name. There was something there, something she wasn't saying. He couldn't shake the feeling that the lines between guilt and innocence weren't as sharp as he wanted them to be. The elevator dinged behind him, faint beneath the storm. He didn't turn, not until he heard footsteps, soft ones, cautious ones. The kind made by someone who shouldn't be there. When he looked over his shoulder, Karen Whitfield stood in the rain, hands cuffed in front of her, escorted by Officer Reyes for transfer. Her hair stuck to her cheeks, her breath fogging the air. She shouldn't have been outside. She shouldn't have been anywhere near him. But she stepped forward anyway. Detective Cross, her voice was barely louder than the storm, but it hit him harder than thunder. "I need to talk to you." Reyes hesitated. Karen turned her head slightly. "Please. Just 1 minute." Adrian gave a subtle nod. Reyes stepped back but remained within sight. Karen moved closer, until the rain dripping from her chin landed near Adrian's boots. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Two silhouettes in the downpour, held together by something neither of them fully understood. "They're coming for me," she said softly, trembling. "You need to listen." "Who?" Adrian asked, eyes narrowing. "The same people who killed your brother." The words hit him like a strike to the ribs. A breath escaped him, sharp, involuntary. Karen saw the change in his face and stepped closer. "I saw one of them," she continued. "At the cemetery. That's why I panicked. Why I cut into the procession. I know it's not an excuse, but it's the truth." Adrian's heartbeat didn't speed up. It slowed. A controlled, lethal calm settling over him. You're telling me you recognized a gang shooter in a cemetery full of officers? And you didn't say a word until now? I couldn't, she whispered. You don't know what they've done. What they made me do. If they think I talked, her voice broke. I won't make it to trial. Thunder cracked above them. Adrian stepped closer, grabbing the chain of her cuffs, pulling her forward just enough that she could feel his breath. If you're lying to me, he said, voice low and deadly, I'll bury you myself. Karen didn't flinch. Instead, a faint, broken smile curved her lips. Then stay close, detective. Because if you let me out of your sight, we'll both be dead by sunrise. Reyes called her name sharply. The moment snapped like a stretched wire. She stepped back, giving Adrian a look that burned like a brand. And just like that, she was escorted toward the elevator, rain cascading off her like a veil. Adrian remained still, watching her disappear behind the closing steel doors, knowing that whatever had just begun between them wasn't something he could walk away from. Not anymore.